Bob is standing on enough iron to arm 1,000 men. He will die without ever holding an iron blade. The ore is right there in the hillside, red streaks running through the rock. It's sat there his whole life, and his father's life before that, doing nothing. What Bob is missing isn't the metal itself, but a fire hot enough and someone who knows how to work it. The metal a society can work decides the size of the army it fields and the soil it can farm. And what decides the metal is almost never the ore. It is the fuel and the knowledge. I provide a free worksheet so you can implement this in your world as well. Metal equals tools. Tools are how you farm and how you fight. Better tools grow more food. That food feeds more families, and that means more spears land in the hands of fathers and sons. Tools let your society climb the metal staircase. Bob's people grow with every step. They work more ore, make better tools again. The cycle feeds itself. Every step climbed makes the next one easier to climb. Those who stay behind have a harder time. They don't lack the ore, but the fire and the knowledge to work it. The gap between Bob's people and their neighbors grows larger and larger. Bob can muster a bigger and better equipped army, and they cannot do anything about it. The ore does not let you climb. The fire that is hot enough and the knowledge how to work the metal does. Miss either and you will stay right where you are. In the Stone Age, you use what the ground has already finished for you, stones. Not all stone is equal though. Volcanic glass like obsidian has a sharper edge than anything a flint knapper can make, but it only forms where volcanoes put it. So the village that sits on obsidian has something every other village wants and cannot make. This is value. 9,000 years ago, the town of Çatalhöyük in Anatolia grew rich on it, pulling obsidian from a nearby volcano and trading it clear across the ancient Near East. But stone has a major flaw. Drop a stone axe on a rock and it shatters. And a shattered axe is gone for good. You cannot melt it back into a new stone. Stone also makes for poor plow. It scratches the soil, but it cannot turn the heavy earth. So a stone world stays small. Small fields, small bands, raiders instead of armies. The ceiling is low, and a sharper rock will not break through it. The way out is metal. A metal you can melt and pour and melt again. Copper. If a kiln burns hot enough, then the green rock at the edge of the fire bleeds a bright bead of metal. That bead is the revolution. A copper axe that breaks is not wasted. You melt it down and pour a new one. The tool stops being something you lose and becomes something you recycle. Recycling is great, but not the real prize. Stone can only be chipped, and that limits its shapes. An edge, a point, a scraper. Copper pours into any shape you can carve a mold for. Now, Bob's people make tools that never existed before. A long, thin saw, a drill that bites a clean hole, a chisel that holds a true edge through 100 careful cuts. Better tools for making things. And that is what copper changed. Copper made poor weapons, but it rebuilt the workshop. A better workshop gave rise to a more advanced world. But the ore was never what changed. Copper was always in that rock. Bob's grandfather walked past it 1,000 times. What was missing was the knowledge that a hot enough fire turns green ore into metal. This is what opens the door to all the metals that come after. Bronze, iron, steel, all of it starts with the same fire that Bob's people used to shape copper. It's the first step on the metal staircase. But every step upwards will ask for a hotter fire, another ore, and a whole forest to burn it. This is what makes metal different from salt or grain. You can sit on a mountain of ore for 1,000 years and stay in the Stone Age, because the lock is technology, and the key is in someone's head, not in the ground. So the man who holds that knowledge holds something close to magic. He puts rock into the fire and takes metal out. and people treat him with a respect that has fear underneath it. Look at how the old stories handle their smiths. The Greek smith god Hephaestus is thrown from a mountain and left lame. The Norse smith Wayland is captured by a king and hamstrung so he can never run, only forge. The smith is too valuable to lose and too dangerous to fully trust, so the myth cripples them to keep them at the anvil. That tells you what a real smith was worth. Every other resource in your world is a place you capture. The smith is a person you capture. He is the one bottleneck that can walk away on his own legs, which is exactly why the stories take the legs. Once someone added tin to the copper, they noticed something strange. Roughly 1 part in 10 and soft copper hardens into bronze. Now the edge holds through a blow. For the first time, a lord can arm a body of men with metal that can take a hard hit, and the standing army becomes something far more lethal. But whereas copper is fairly common, tin is not. It sits in a handful of places on the whole map, and almost never beside the copper. The metal that armed the bronze world traveled huge distances on a road that was not controlled by a single ruler. This gives leverage to the suppliers and those who control the supply routes. Bob's taxes climb and no one explains why. The rulers need tin money, and that money had to come from somewhere. The tin is so precious that nothing made of bronze is ever thrown away. A snapped sword goes back into the crucible and comes out a spearhead. A dead man's armor becomes a plowshare. Metal is the one thing Bob's world cannot waste. Every battlefield is a harvest. Bronze does something for those who fight, but it's too expensive to hand out to everyone, so war belongs to whoever can afford it. In the Bronze Age, that means a chariot. A chariot is a fortune on wheels. The vehicle, the trained horses, the bronze-armored noble riding it, the years of practice. Only a wealthy elite can field one. Everyone else got a spear. It required little bronze and was deadly all the same. The domain of war becomes the private property of the rich, and that means a few thousand nobles instead of a huge army. Then the whole thing comes apart in a single lifetime. Around 1200 BCE, the Bronze World collapses. Cities burn from Greece to the Levant. Raiders from the sea, drought, earthquakes, all of it hit at once. But the tin is what made the system brittle. The web of palaces all rely on the same far-off metal, and they all come down together when the roads break. We have the last words of one of them. The city of Ugarit on the Syrian coast left a final letter, which was never sent. Enemy ships are here. The city is undefended. Send help. Help never came. Ugarit burned and was never rebuilt. A trading hub that lived in the Bronze Network died out. Dependency turns a single bad year into an end of an age. The way out of the tin trap is a different kind of metal. One that sits underneath almost every kingdom and that doesn't need a rare second metal to make it stronger. Iron. Bob's Hills and all those around them are rich with it. The scarcity problem is no more because no one imports what's already under their feet. Then why didn't iron come first? Copper melts in a good kiln. Iron, not so much. Its melting point sits far above what those early fires could manage, and for centuries that put it out of reach. The trick turned out to be rather simple. You don't melt the iron. You heat the ore until it goes soft and pasty without ever turning liquid. Then beat the impurities out with a hammer. Blow after blow, until what's left is a workable lump, the bloom. Once you have it, iron reshapes the rules of war. It's cheap and everywhere, so you stop arming only the elite and start arming everyone. Watch what that does to the chariot aristocracy. A bronze world gave war to a few thousand nobles on chariots. An iron world hands a spear and a shield to 10,000 farmers and marches them in a line. That line is the Greek phalanx, and later the Roman legion, ranks of ordinary men in cheap iron. And they break the chariots. When the metal gets cheap, the citizen soldier is born. and he brings his politics with him. A man who arms himself and fights in the line starts expecting a say in the city he bleeds for. The Roman citizen was a child of iron. Bronze made soldiers precious. Iron made them many. Iron arms the poor, but it also feeds them. A true iron plow turns heavy soil that a bronze blade only scratched. The fuller payoff comes later, when the medieval heavy plow finally cracks open wet clay soils of northern Europe. Land that fed no one becomes farmland. More farmlands feeds more people, and the population climbs behind the iron plow and up the metal ladder. The kingdoms that reach iron field bigger armies, and they grow the grain that keeps those armies standing. Iron solved scarcity. Everyone has the ore, so logically the ceiling of bronze should be gone. Only it isn't. It just moved somewhere else. Working iron requires enormous heat, and that heat comes from charcoal. And charcoal comes from the forest. It takes 5 to 7 tons of wood to make 1 ton of charcoal. So an industry doesn't take a sip of the forest, it devours it. We can see the scars to this day. In England, the iron foundries of the Weald ate through the woodland of the southeast for centuries, until the shortage of charcoal became a national worry. And the charcoal is too brittle to cart far without crumbling to dust. So the furnace cannot sit by the city and wait for the fuel to come to it. The furnace goes to the forest, and the heavy ore is dragged out to meet it. You smelt where the trees are. Then you carry the iron to the city. Because a bar of worked iron is light and dense and travels fine. The bulk stays in the wood, the value moves. The forest caps the army the same way it caps the city. Iron did not dissolve the ceiling at all. It simply moved the ceiling to the forest. Iron has a microscopic problem: carbon. Too little, it bends. Too much, it shatters. Steel is the narrow middle, an edge that holds and springs back. For centuries, hitting that middle was guesswork, coaxed out one lump at a time by master smiths. Steel was for the king's sword, never the levy's spear. Then water wheels drove the bellows, and fires got hotter. Iron melted by the ton, but sitting in the fuel, it soaked up too much carbon. It became cast iron, perfect for cannons, useless for swords. Furnaces created a flood of metal, but they were chained to fast rivers for power and forests for charcoal. In 1709, Abraham Darby broke the fuel limit by smelting with coke, purified coal from the ground, not trees. Iron poured by the thousands of tons, but it was still brittle. The final trick was blasting air through the molten iron to burn the excess carbon away. Suddenly, true steel poured by the ton, finally getting into the hands of the levy what kings used to hoard. I made a worksheet that guides you through your world's metallurgy, resources, and supply chains, and then shows you how to break them. Here's why it helps your world building. It generates realistic trade politics. Placing ore in one spot and fuel in another instantly creates trade routes, alliances, and resource dependencies. It defines the balance of power. Military scale is not really arbitrary. It's tied directly to who controls the mines, the forests, or the technological secrets. It creates depth through limitation. A kingdom cannot just be all-powerful if they have mountains of iron but no wood to burn it. Limitations force your factions to act realistically. It builds baked-in conflict. By identifying the exact bottleneck in your supply chain and then cutting it, you find exactly where your world's next conflict begins. Grab the worksheet for free on my website or Discord and go forge your own world.